Today's episode is brought to you by the best store in the universe. Thousands of shirts, but not really. Shop now and support the show at MaddoxRules.com. Welcome to the best debate in the universe. Every debate in the universe, from Super Bowl winners to Hungry Man dinners. With over 4 million downloads, I'm your host, Maddox. With me is the Rear Admiral of Tangents, Ron Babcock.
Thank you, Maddox.
And returning guest, Deputy Moderator, Dreadmere.
Yeah, what's up?
Welcome back to the show. Guys, big show this week. We've got a topic this week.
When isn't it a big show?
We've had some small shows.
I feel but you always say it's a big show. You always go in with hope.
You know what, though? Sometimes I say it's an exciting show this week, and I didn't want to, mislead our audience.
Okay, but this is a big show.
It's a big show, and I'm not sure it's going to be exciting yet. I think it will be, actually, by the time we get to the voicemail.
Get ready for a big and exciting show.
Yeah, we got some special guests. We got some celebrity callers calling in for leaving us voicemail.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. And I should say, welcome back, Dreadmere, to our show.
Yeah, I've been here 10 or 12 times, and I'm still the deputy.
I think so. You're deputy moderator. You know what? You want to be up for vote? We can put you up for vote.
Yeah.
We're gonna vote on Madcast Media, guys. Madcastmedia.com, whether or not Dreadmere deserves a promotion.
Doesn't Dreadmere kind of look like John Stamos' little brother?
Yes, is John Stamos Mexican?
No.
Are you Mexican? You're Mexican.
I'm half Mexican.
You're half Mexican.
That's not
so he's like
Aren't we all a little bit Mexican?
No.
Okay.
I said let's not get crazy.
Right.
Yeah, let's not. I know it's 2019, but not yet.
Yeah.
Y'all want to get a shout out to the Slovaks in the chat room?
Yeah, whatever.
Slovaks?
Yeah, we're our Slovaks.
No one's ever Slovak.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet in the chat room all of a sudden.
That's what I am.
But I should mention, because I usually do this at the top of the show, the debate this week, which is, do good intentions justify bad outcomes? And I should say that this is a suggestion that came to us from a fan, Chris Gooch. Thank you, Chris, for that suggestion. I believe I saw it in the Maddox University for successful people and hot babes who are successful too. I forget the whole fucking name. But if you guys aren't part of Maddox University yet, go to Facebook, search for Maddox University. You can join the Facebook group.
You might join if you're good enough, right? Is that how it
actually,
works?
I do have a questionnaire. I ask people a bunch of questions, and people sometimes leave jokey responses. I'm like, you know what, idiot? I don't need you. I don't need to let this dipshit into my fucking.
I don't want funny people in my chat.
We just want
no interesting jokes. What do you think this is?
But funny people are banned from the chat room. No, but it's, I'll get a bunch of, smart Alex who are making, but they're not funny. That's the thing. They're not funny. If you're funny, and even if you're shitting on me, I don't care. Get in there.
A lot of times people, when they think they're being funny, they're just being mean.
Yeah.
I noticed, but they think that's what being funny is. It's just being super mean. But big props to the Gooch for the great topic.
Yeah, Chris Gooch, thank you for the suggestion. Do good intentions justify bad outcomes. And also, I wanted to give a shout out. We got in the chat room, Super Arrogant Bros. Guys, check out Super Arrogant Bros on Madcast Media, madcastmedia.com. He says Maddox University for geniuses and babes who are geniuses only. That's right.
That's it.
That's the name. Yeah, thank you. It's a good name, and it's a good university. Not a single person has graduated other than me so far.
What's your mascot?
My mascot?
Yeah.
Oh, but we got so many. Right now it's a chimera, but all 3 heads are lions.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, pretty
all
fucking
chainsaws for eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, fucking dope as shit. I think in my in the alphabet of manliness, when I had the extended edition, which included the numbers of manliness, in that I had a chimera giving me a hand job. My grandpa a hand job, which looks exactly like me.
So wait, a chimera is like a 3. What the fuck's a chimera?
A lion. A chimera is a lion head, a goat, and a serpent, I think. Or a lion head, a goat, and a griffin.
Is like that's kind of and then that's taken from like some old fairy tale, like some old thing where like kids today will just do doodles in their notebooks at school of like made up monsters. It's the same shit that people did back then. They just put it on like a stone tablet so we pay more attention to it.
Yeah,
you know
but
I mean?
Also, like, the shit that lasted, like, all the doodles and shit that came from, like, ancient Greece, none of those lasted. So all we have are the shit that they sculpted into fucking stone.
You know, all it is just dicks.
Yeah, there's a ton of that shit. If you guys go, that's actually what inspired a couple of the chapters in my book, the Alphabet of Manliness. There's a ton of Greek artwork, ancient Greek artwork that's erotica, and they have this entire history, this entire museum of just like boners, and it's the funniest fucking thing. They use their boners as clubs. They have like they use their boners as ornaments, and it's the funniest fucking shit. And they never put it in art history books because they want to.
It's like we have this like idea of what Greco-Roman times were. Like, they were so learned.
Right.
It's like, no, man, they were just the same shit as us.
Right, and they don't want to acknowledge. And the thing is, like, scholars are afraid to acknowledge people are kind of fuck ups. Like Mozart. I wrote about this in it sounds like it's just a bunch of plugs in my books, but I wrote about this in I Am Better Than Your Kids. Mozart was kind of a fuck up, and he was obsessed with scatological humor. He wrote so much scatological humor, and you never hear about it, but there's an entire Wikipedia page. If you don't believe me, search for it.
Yeah, he was like, he had a filthy sense of humor.
Yeah, and he wrote these amazing, like, these letters that sounded like they were going to be, like, romantic letters to his friends or his, like, girls, like, people he was courting, whatever, and it sounded like a romantic letter at first, and then it got into, like, some poop joke at the end. That's Mozart.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
That's Mozart in a nutshell.
Yeah.
We got a super chat from Kirk Wilcox. He says, "No, good intentions do not justify bad outcomes." There is. I guess the debate's over.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Kirk Wilcox. And Kirk, welcome back to the show. We got to have Kirk on too soon. Kirk was on last week when we debated was he? Yeah,
the one
Kirk
that I was on. So the one before.
The one before. Yeah, that's right. You and Kirk were on Dreadmere.
Yeah, I don't remember what we debated.
Yeah, it was some good shit though.
There's lectures.
No.
Lectures? No,
I
it wasn't
wasn't on that one.
Oh,
the lectures one was T.J. Peters and Mikey
right.
Bolts. Mikey Bolts was back. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was him at first. I was like, wait, is someone doing a Mikey impression?
Mikey, no, that was Mikey, but Mikey couldn't make it this week. He could have made it if we recorded on a Friday night. So it depends on schedules and stuff. So anyway.
Hey, by the way, how's that Oriental raisin tea treating you?
Yeah, so I'm drinking this drink in studio. It's called Oriental Raisin Tea Drink, and it's by the company is called Kwangdong.
Cool.
There's nothing about this that's not funny. It says Oriental Raisin Tree Fruit Concentrate added. Oh, it's not even the real thing. It's from concentrate. That's disappointing. It actually tastes really good.
Well, listen, you know how like Kwangdong makes us laugh because the word dong's in it? Like, is there any English word that sounds like dong in another language? Like some innocuous word, like, I don't know, yogurt. And you say yogurt when you're over in China and people are like, oh my God, what did he just say?
Yeah, there was one. I was in Hungary and I said some word and everyone kind of snickered. It was, I forget what it was, but there are definitely words like that.
Was it Maddox?
It was not Matt. You know what, Ron?
What does it mean? What's Maddox?
You're about time for promotion or demotion too. And I don't know why I emphasize demotion like that, but anyway, we should move on. Hey, we got Edlin Martinez in the chat room too. She says special poop to make coffee with. Poop jokes are the pinnacle of human achievement, says Smitty in the chat room. You know what? They're underrated. I think people think it's easy to make a poop joke, but it's not. It's hard.
I agree.
You can make a lot of poop jokes that aren't funny.
Yeah, well, that's what I think sullies the poop humor, is that there's a lot of cheap, crass poop jokes. But if you were to listen to like the poop story that H. John Benjamin does in the final chapter of his book, Failure is an Option, or I think it's just called Failure, it's like one of the best poop stories I have ever heard in my entire life, and it's fucking hilarious. So for anybody who says like poop is not entertaining, I would listen to that story and defy you to tell me that you were not entertained.
Yeah, it's the bad poop jokes that defile the rest of poop jokes. But we should get on.
Like I'm listening to Mozart right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dreadmere. Well, anyway, we should get on to the debate this week. But before we do, I want to hear everyone's buzzer. Here's what mine sounds like.
This is mine.
And Ron.
And I can't get the soundboard to work.
Shit.
So.
All right. Well, there you go. That's fine. If you hear a buzzer from anyone during this debate, that means someone's disagreeing with someone else, or we just want to chime in. And also, I should mention, we've got your voicemail at the tail end of the episode. We've got a Babcock tip, and we've got some quick news headlines. But before we get to the debate, I got another super chat in the chat room from Pavich Bavin for $5. He says, raisin concentrate is just grape juice, but with extra steps.
Yeah, it's you're just cooking the water out of it.
No, this tea, it tastes like if you had put raisins in oatmeal and then, heated it up and then ate the oatmeal. That subtle flavor of raisin in the oatmeal is what this tea tastes like.
Keep
Did we
selling
hit record? We hit record already?
Yeah,
we hit record.
Yeah.
Good on you,
making
though.
sure.
Good on you, Dreadmere.
Anyway, guys, we should get to the debate. Enough tea talk, enough nonsense. We should get to the debate, which is, do good intentions justify bad outcomes? Dreadmere, as our returning deputy moderator this week, I'm going to give you first stab at the debate. What do you think? Do good intentions justify bad outcomes? Yes or no? And why or why not?
No. No, not at all.
Okay. So if somebody sets out to do something nice, like let's say I see a homeless person and I buy that person a sandwich, right? Mm-hmm. Then, unbeknownst to me, the sandwich happened to have, some salmonella or something in it. The food, the homeless person gets food poisoning and dies. Am I then am I still? I think I would still be justified in buying that person a sandwich. Don't you?
No. I mean, like, would you justify the fact that he died because, well, I was trying to buy him food?
I was trying to do something good. Like, no one would impugn me for that. No one would say, hey, shithead, why'd you buy that guy a sandwich? I didn't know it was poisoned.
Yeah, that's also really kind of extreme. That's like a weird, like, accident that would happen. Like,
it's one of those examples that kind of pokes hole in your argument.
Well, I think the more interesting example would be a situation where people are, like, trying to either help people, like, you know, politically, they say, oh, these people need money, so we're going to give them money. But it turns out that we all have less money, and so everybody's standard of living goes down. I think that's a more consistent example of people having good intentions with bad outcomes. But even then, it's not justified. The whole point of, like, having principles and everything like that is to be able to live a consistent, predictable life. And knowing where, like, how far your ideas reduce. So, like, I'm doing this because I believe this, which comes from this. I think that's how you can justify your intentions and predict the consequences more accurately. So if something does go wrong, you would know why or something like that. I don't think these freak accidents of, like, oh, I gave this guy a new pair of shoes and then he tripped and got run over. It's like, that's not really where that comes into play, I don't think.
Okay, so you're talking more like taxation. You think that taxation can sometimes, even if it has good intentions, lead to bad outcomes, right?
I think taxation is theft. So.
Oh boy! All right. You know, can we talk about this fucking argument? This is a fucking libertarian argument. The taxation.
It's not a libertarian.
Okay, then what kind of argument is it?
The correct argument.
It's not
a libertarian appropriate.
Why do you think?
I've never heard of a libertarian not making this argument.
They may make the same argument, but we disagree. So.
Okay. Why do you think taxation is theft? Let's go through this.
Because it belongs to that money belongs to somebody. Okay. Somebody earned it. Somebody made it, and you're just getting it for why?
What would you say to that, Ron?
No.
Okay, well,
no. like 1,000 times no.
I'll tell you why it's not theft. Okay, theft is a crime, and theft is taking money from someone
by force.
Yeah, by force.
Okay,
right. A lot of times not necessarily by force. You can.
Oh, you know, the last tax time, IRS came down and held me down till I gave them $1,000.
They would if you didn't. I mean, they would.
But it's the system I signed up for. Like I'm not. It's not forced when I willingly go along with the system. You know what I mean? Like it's also like you say by force. It's like a very sensational word to use of a system that I'm like, yeah, okay, I make income. I give some of that income to the government so we could have roads and schools and whatever. Because I use those roads to go about my daily business. So yeah, you should take some of my money to make roads so I can get around.
No, I'll tell you the argument why it's not theft. Okay, theft can happen in a number of different ways. Theft can happen by by grifting, by if you say in the movie Office Space, the main guy, the protagonist was a computer programmer who worked for an accounting company, and he said that you can use rounding errors, like if there was something like a half a penny, right, that was a rounding error.
His name was Michael Bolton.
Was it really?
That was the character's name.
Oh yeah, Michael Bolton. Okay, so the protagonist in Office Space, Michael Bolton, used those rounding errors to throw that money into a bank account. Now that wasn't like by force, but it was dishonest. It was theft. So that's theft. Yeah. But also here's the thing. Here's the difference between taxation and theft, and why it's not theft. Taxation. The punishment for it isn't always someone barges into your house with a fucking gun to your head or puts you in jail. That's not always the outcome. In fact, it's rarely the outcome. Here's how they can enforce taxation, all right? They can just simply deny you services that are granted to everyone in society. For example, going to the DMV if you want a driver's license. If they say, oh, okay, well, this person doesn't have, he refuses to pay his taxes, he's delinquent, whatever, then they could say, okay, we're not going to grant you a passport. There's ways to enforce taxation that doesn't involve busting into your fucking house with a gun. Do you agree or not?
No, I mean, that's not, denying services is not what they do. They enforce more services. They put you in prison. People who evade taxes and try to put money in offshore accounts go to prison where other people with taxes pay for them to be there in the first place. They give you services for not paying into the services.
Those are extreme cases though. Like most people, they just get fines and then, they get hassled by collections people.
That's not, if somebody robbed you and then you didn't give them the money and then they just kept coming up to you asking for the money saying it's going to get more and more severe until you pay me.
That's the way you made your money was partially based on services that you use that were provided by the government. If you make your money on your computer working, well, part of that is the electricity happens because power lines that are, built to your apartment, or like there's an infrastructure in place that is provided by city government, by the country. So part of our taxes go towards maintaining that infrastructure. And that's like how we make, so we don't make our money in this void, like we make money, but it's partially because like there's a system in which we can make that money, and that system had to get there someplace. And part of the way that got there was by, taxing everybody a little bit. I do agree with you that the income tax is ridiculous, and I don't think people should be penalized for making money. Yeah. The more money you make, the more you get taxed. I think that we shouldn't make our taxes other ways.
That's true, but I hear that argument a lot is like, oh, why aren't you for public schools? You benefited from that, or you benefited from this. It's like, yes, but that's not something that I agreed to. Like, just like my circumstances and my context is not something that like I'm responsible for. Like I can't, it's not.
It's such a privileged position to be like, I don't agree with the system that I came out of and I'm still benefiting from.
Privilege compared to other people, but I'm not comparing it to other people.
But where would you go to, like, if you were truly this felt strongly about taxes, just move to a no tax state. You could limit some of your tax, if you moved up to, what is it, Montana or Nevada, Oregon, where there's no sales tax on things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the other argument that's made, and I've heard this before in the past, which is, I believe your position would be that the government's job is to protect us, right?
Yeah, protect your rights.
All right. So there's something. This is a great way to get back into our debate, because there's something with good intentions. The government's job is to protect us and protect our rights, right? Yep. Protect our sovereignty, right? Yeah. So if that's our government's job, at its outset, people say, well, yeah, that's great. Okay, awesome. I'm on board with that. But then people have a problem defining what our sovereignty entails and what our rights entail.
I agree.
So then that's where you get this thing that has good intentions and then have potentially bad outcomes, where people say, well, that doesn't include social welfare, that doesn't include public libraries, that doesn't include the roads, that doesn't include these things. But then the argument could be made that the value of a nation, this is my argument, it's a really smart one, so you guys should write this down. The argument could be made, and I'm making it again, is that the value of a nation comes from its aggregate, its whole, its economy, how strong its economy is, how the morale of its people, the property value, and all these things. So if some company comes along and does something that could be perceived as hurting the economy or hurting the value of this country, then the argument could be made, well, now the government should step in and regulate that company to prevent it from destroying our nation's wealth and our nation's value, which is equivalent to invaders coming in and literally razing our towns and villages. Like, let's say a company was just dumping toxic waste into the ocean or into rivers, into our drinking water. Right, the argument would be like, well, you can't regulate people, you can't regulate companies, and you would say that doesn't fall under the scope of government. What would you say to that, Dreadmere?
I would say that if you did write that down, you should put -pragmatism is the argument that you made, and that's a very common one because you're starting at the wrong place. But for that situation, is like toxic waste. It is infringing on people's rights. You like if you're contaminating, if you're hurting people or whatever, like. You should be held responsible for that. So that would be in the scope of government to make sure that your business is not impeding other people from living and making their own choices. But that's my point. Is like good intentions. Okay, what does that mean? Good for who? Good for the species. Good for future generations. Good for everybody. Like good for your country. And what I'm saying is good for you. You start with you. Good intentions. Like what's going to be best for me, and that's where you start with this whole idea of government protecting those rights, because you don't change it just because, oh well, this group of people is being hurt, so we have to adjust for that. I'm saying the right answer, the reason people can't agree on these things is because rights come from the individual, life, liberty, and property, starting from the individual.
Okay, I'm not sure. You're saying that rights come from property rights.
No, I'm saying they come from like individual. It's like individual rights, living among people.
Oh, okay. I mean, you got to at some point acknowledge group rights and world government. You absolutely have to. So, for example, if you want to trade with another country, and that country decides to put a tariff on our products, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say it's the rest of the world creates a union against the United States. Then they start imposing tariffs on us. well, what leverage do we have against those other people? And should we start making a government that can essentially put their thumb on the scale, the economic scale, to try to enforce another government to give us more favorable trade views? Like, where does that fall into line? I mean, isn't that the government's responsibility too?
It's hard for me to think about these things in terms of like governments like talking to each other, but like the way I think about it is motivations. So it's like if we do have a commodity or a product that another country would want, that business wouldn't really have an issue, I think, trading with other countries because it's something that they want. Maybe it's cheaper, maybe it's more efficient, but like people operate under motivation. I don't think that you need like this artificial force to like make sure it goes smoothly.
Okay, what about this, though? This is something that actually was a big concern, and I think still is. All the manufacturing that came out of China, they had this huge industrial boom in the 80s and 90s, and they started manufacturing everything like crazy, and we started getting all these like cheap goods coming into the United States, in addition to a bunch of pollution that was flying across the Pacific from China. So is that fair? I mean, would you say that would fall under the role of government to say, okay, now we need to do something. We don't control these people. We don't control this government. We shouldn't have. Should we or should we not have a say in how much pollution they send across the Great Pond? What do you think?
I mean, that's definitely a tough one. Like pollution, like even within our own country, if there's a business that's like highly polluting the air.
Like the sriracha factory.
Yeah, that's
here
right.
in LA, which I wouldn't say it's pollution, but some people don't. There's this, make the rooster sauce, the red hot sriracha rooster sauce, and they have to crush all the chilies and process them, and all that stuff gets let out in the air. And basically, the town people walk around like constantly watering their eyes because there's fucking chili peppers, going everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you is that it's not the government's job to like say, hey, you guys need to make your like sauce like not as hot or whatever it is that's happening over there. Like, but I don't know the details of what would have to take place for like a community that lives like nearby, and then this building pops up that starts making it so you can't breathe. Like, I don't necessarily know what the solution for that would be, but I can tell you that like that does. So those examples don't adjust the rights. It doesn't change the fact that this person has a right to property. That being said, there is context in which like things. Like, you need to like look at if those rights are being violated by that company.
Okay, I'll give you an example of personal property rights that are hurting everyone.
Okay.
And before I do, I'll read a couple comments in the chat room. Commissar Keck says, the issue is Maddox is operating off examples while Dreadmere is operating off principle. Okay, we'll get to that. I'll address that in a second. And then we got another one from Digfig. He says, Maddox with the hyperboles again. Okay. And then here Commissar Keck again. He goes, they are, but Maddox doesn't have consistent principles for an argument. Okay, let's talk about principles. Okay, you talk about principles as if they're a good thing. There are good and bad principles.
Yeah.
Let's agree to that. All right.
There's right
real
and
quick,
wrong.
Are we talking about principles like of a school or principles as a way of going through life?
I'll give you an example as a way of going through life.
Okay, so not okay.
Not that, yeah. I had a friend, for example, he had a principle that if he was like in a mall parking garage and there was a car waiting with a signal on to take his spot, he would take extra amount of time. And I'm like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? He goes, well, because I think they're being rude to the person behind them, and so I want to teach them a lesson. I'm like, dipshit, first of all, you're not teaching that person a lesson. He doesn't know you're teaching him a lesson. You're just taking an extra amount of time, and he just thinks you're an asshole, and so does everyone else, by the way. Now you're the person who's causing everyone else behind them to be delayed because you're being a dick. So just get the fuck out of your stall, because that's how commerce works. It's understood that when someone's moving out of a fucking spot, another person's going to take it. So you try to be as courteous and quick as possible, not take as much time as possible, because I guarantee not a single person your whole fucking life has ever been like, that guy took extra long. I'm not going to wait next time. Because guess what? The person behind him is going to wait, and the person behind them is going to wait. Someone's always going to wait for your fucking spot if you're making the motions to leave, dipshit.
Yeah, so what do you think about that, Dreadmere?
You said all that to him in the car while you were waiting?
I guarantee you said all that to him in the car.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that you didn't say all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I yelled at him. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
And what did he do? Let me guess.
But you don't know. So there's an example of a bad principle. You guys want to argue from principles? There you go. There's a shitty one. You got to have good principles, and there's bad ones too. Just talking about principles doesn't mean anything. You got to say what the substance of the principle is. Okay, then let's get to the other comment. Okay, we addressed the principles one. Now here's what I was going to say, Dreadmere, right before we got into this fucking tangent, which is here's some individual property rights that ruins it for everyone. Hollywood, okay? Hollywood, California. You got the big fucking Hollywood sign. For those of you who have never visited Hollywood, first of all, don't. It's gross. But second,
it's fine.
It's gotten better. It's gotten better.
The thing is, I go to other parts that aren't just Hollywood.
That's true. Okay, that's fair. So, but anyway, don't come here.
Yeah.
So the Hollywood sign, okay? Here's something that people don't know, and myself included. I was wondering one day, like, why isn't it lit at night? Have you ever seen a picture of the Hollywood sign from night? No. The answer is no. No one has. You know why? Because they can't light it up. And guess why? It's because there's 2 or 3 houses that live next to the Hollywood sign who complained to the city and said, well, this light bothers us. We can't sleep that well at night. It's like, have you ever heard of blinds, dipshit? And by the way, don't buy a fucking house next to the Hollywood sign if you don't want the traffic, the light pollution, the noise, all that shit. You don't buy a house next to the fucking Eiffel Tower if you're going to complain about tourists checking out the Eiffel Tower.
There was kind of annoying, but there's a pretty popular hike that you could do up to the Hollywood sign. I think it's the Baldwin Park hike. And so it was a public path, and all these people bought houses there. And then, lo and behold, the path keeps getting more and more popular. Public path. People bought the houses, and the path was already there, already public. They knew it going in, and now they just don't like people, like the public, going up down their street. So now they've rallied, and they've got the city to close down that access point to the path, which is annoying to me because it's like that's a public path, and you bought your house knowing full well the situation when you bought your house, and they're like, yeah, but we just don't want people. And it's a very wealthy area. Yeah. So it's like wealthy people get to do that shit all the time.
And here's the even worse implication of that, Dreadmere. They're actually hurting the fucking economy because these 3 dipshits don't want a little bit of light pollution come into their fucking blinds that they can shut. If you guys, if you imagine how many more tourists would spend time on the Hollywood Strip taking pictures, buying snacks, buying souvenirs, if they could take pictures of the sign and see that sign from nighttime. Just because these 3 dipshits have decided for the rest of fucking Los Angeles, sorry, you guys can't have millions of dollars of stimulated economy because we want a little bit of snooze time at night. Go fuck yourselves. What do you think of that? Do you think the government should step in? Because that's one that you can make an argument that government stepped in and said, okay, we're not going to light the sign at night because of the rich people on those hills who put the thumbs on their scales. Or should people lobby the government and say, you fuck these people, turn on the lights? What do you think?
This is why I like this argument, because you can go, this is why I like this debate topic. You can go a lot of places, but I don't know why the government needs to be responsible for allocating tourist money or being concerned with tourist money. I think that's a weird way. You're right in that it hurts the economy the way we have it set up now, but as far as the economics, if somebody buys the Hollywood sign or buys property near the sign and people want to go pay to see it, that person would be making money from presumably other countries and then spending it in our country. So it wouldn't hurt the economy in that way. And they have every right to say this is my property if it is, and say I don't want, it doesn't belong to everybody. The Hollywood sign it shouldn't be this public thing that we're all concerned with making money off of for some reason. It should belong to somebody. And if they want to make money off of it, then they have the option to.
It does, and that's the thing. The Hollywood sign is owned by a private company.
Yeah, so it's owned by different people, right? It's Eat Pieces. Someone has some letters or something.
Yeah, it is now because the company I think went bankrupt a while back.
Is there some trust that you're part of? I don't know.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 people, and I think Hugh Hefner is one of them who came in and kind of saved the Hollywood sign. But it is owned by some people. It's privately owned, the Hollywood sign. Yeah. So we have basically 2 conflicting private property rights. So you have the people who want to have the Hollywood sign lit because you can make a lot more money. It's iconic. You should see it at night. And then you have a couple of dipshits who are complaining that the light pollution. I mean, that's where government has to step in, because who's going to settle that?
It's they're basically a mediator. So you keep going up the chain, until somebody makes a law, and then people are like, okay, well, I got to follow the law, otherwise I'm going to be forced to go to jail. And government's the one who mediates that shit at some point. I don't know who else does it.
What other authority is
You start with the community group, the community groups fight, then they go to City Hall, then they hash it out at City Hall, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made for each one, but whose property rights are being violated? I would say arguably you cannot have a settlement there in that situation without violating someone's property rights. And that's where you absolutely have to have government step in and make some kind of regulation.
It kind of goes like to there's an area of the 710 freeway that they wanted to connect between, I think it's south of Alhambra and north of like Pasadena, and it runs through South Pasadena, and they wanted to connect that highway. And originally they wanted to put the highway right through the community, and the community went up in arms. And the arguments were like, yeah, but this is going to be really helpful for traffic and like the greater number of people. And the community was like, yeah, but this is going to destroy our community. So then they wanted to build a tunnel. And the tunnel was like, and the community's like, we don't want you tunneling under our houses. We don't trust you. Also, it's an astronomical amount of money to tunnel, and it's really not going to alleviate traffic that much. So there's vested interests on both ends. It's like, which community do you choose to benefit? Because you could say with the argument of the sign, it's like, well, which would benefit the most amount of people?
That's what I would argue, yeah.
But what happens when you don't know that answer to that question? Right. Like when you're tunneling through or putting a highway through a community, right. Like, are we really benefiting the most amount of people to allow people to get from point A to point B a little bit quicker? Or are we destroying a whole community of, say 40,000 people? And because it would go right through the main, like literally right through the main street.
Well, let me ask this: why is that the goal? Like, why is this utilitarian? Like the most amount of people who are benefited.
I'm assuming that's just a metric for determining these kinds of impossible problems. Is like, well, how many? And we live in a democracy where majority rules is one of the major principles. So I'm assuming, like the utilitarian approach of just like, well, who's going to be happier? I mean, that's one way of approaching it. I would love to hear if there's something.
Didn't you like? Isn't the whole point of life happiness? Right?
Yes.
To be as happy as we possibly can be.
We'll get your dick sucked.
And as part of that, like let's say your life was doomed. Let's say you were we talked about this a while ago, the trolley problem, which is a car hurtling down like a cliffside, and there's a group of pedestrians, right? And if the brakes malfunction and the computer's controlling the car, the computer has the decision to make. Does it save the driver or does it plow through the pedestrians? Mm-hmm. So what would you say the answer to that trolley problem should be?
So this is like an academic question, and
it's a real question. This is something that actual programmers have to consider now.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that I think would be very clear is like, so this is the reason I say that is because it's an extreme example. Like, it's not something that would happen every day, but like...
But the extreme example is just it's not like there's a right or wrong answer. It's just an indication of how you approach life.
Well, there's always a right answer. Like,
no, I don't think there is.
There isn't. And I'll let you finish your point, but like the extreme examples are what the laws are made for, to protect people. So, for example... In society, the number of people who are trans are less than like 2%. It's like real. It's tiny. Yeah. It's almost non-existent. It's a blip.
Way less than 2%.
It's like way less than 2%. It's like nothing. It's like maybe 1% of the population are transsexual. And then we have all these laws that people are, spending all this time trying to pass and protect, and they're like, oh my God, it's such a big deal if we let a trans person take a shit in our bathroom. So those exceptions oftentimes set the rules, and we have to make rules that kind of look at the extreme scenarios, like in the extreme cases.
0.6%.
0.6%
identify as transgendered.
And yet, how much ink has been spilled in the last couple of years just on transsexual rights?
And then 1.2 to 6.8% of the adult population identifying as LGBT. And that came from the internet, so who knows if that's true.
Well, there you go.
Well, I believe it. But even so, I don't think that they should set... They should... Well, that's what I'm saying is like the right answer is that individual rights are exist and they're necessary, like life, liberty, and property for you. Scoping that out into like the most amount of people or however many people this group has, and then adjusting those rights doesn't make any sense, because now like there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer.
What's the answer in
with the trolley problem? Yeah. I would say like if you buy a car and it says like, and it should keep like plow into a group of people or save the driver. I would say like it's the person who bought the car, like they should be like I would say that they should. It should keep the driver safe, like no matter what.
So you're trumping the rights of far more individuals over the rights of one individual. What if the person? I mean, you could make that argument that say, okay, the person, every pedestrian should carry around a fucking bazooka, and in that situation, they should take the fucking car out. Like that's an insane argument, because if you say that the individual right is always going to trump a group's rights, well, there's many, many cases where individuals could justifiably harm an entire group of people to save themselves.
So I realize a lot of people get frustrated when I make my arguments like over voicemails, maybe because like they're not very specific, or when people want to get into like details or extremes like this, I don't have very detailed answers. But the reason I don't is because there's context. Like all of these situations have context that you would need to accurately decide like who is responsible or what the right course of action is based on the context, because we live in a reality of context. We don't live in a world of abstractions, and we don't live in a world where there's a trolley about to hit 5 people or one person. What's more valuable?
It's like they're Teslas. The Teslas have auto driving. We're going to have more and more auto driving, in the coming days and years. Like, for example, we have this technology. I believe some trains have a technology to detect obstacles in their path. Like, say, for example, there is, there's literally a car stopped on the tracks, and the train could plow through and kill that pedestrian, or maybe the the train has an option to jump off the tracks and destroy itself. I mean, that's an absurd outcome. No train engineer would ever make a train that destroys itself to save one person.
Yeah, and it's also arbitrary. Like the reason principles are valuable is because you can take them and apply them to day-to-day normal life, not because you can use them to explain why Tesla should crash into people instead of saving the driver. That's the reason principles are valuable.
Okay,
and that's how you should use them.
But the principle, again, you're using the word principle as if it means anything. It doesn't. Which principles? Which principles? Because here's an argument I could make to justifiably you commit mass murder. If you think that an entire football stadium is a threat to your life, right, and your property rights, well then that person is going to march in there and say, hey, I feel my property's threatened. You guys are making too much noise. I'm going to take out this entire fucking stadium. I'm going to bulldoze it because the noise is bothering me and it's disrupting my property rights. You have to acknowledge on some level that the group property rights trumps the individual property rights. Not always, but sometimes.
No, never.
I don't think, but we would. If that was the case, we wouldn't live in the society that we do. Like, we wouldn't have the country that we do right now.
The reason we have rights are for living in a social space. You wouldn't need rights if you were alone on an island. The reason we have them is so that we don't infringe on other people, like to live among people and not infringe. So if I have the right to life, liberty, and property, so do they. Which means and if I'm going to live among them, I shouldn't invalidate their rights, because implicitly you're saying my rights aren't valid. If I kill somebody or steal from them, you're basically saying it's okay to kill me or steal me because I don't believe I have these rights to begin with.
So let's go back to the Hollywood sign example, because it's one that we can talk about the intentions, right?
Yeah.
What if the some citywide city council commission came to the city and said, look, we think that it's violating our rights to make money. Right, I want to be able to make money by selling things to tourists at night who want to take pictures of the Hollywood sign. It'll drive foot traffic to Hollywood. Places will stay open later. It'll just stimulate the economy. You're violating my rights to do business as I see fit, because this house, these 3 or 4 individuals, whatever number of houses they have up there, are deciding that they don't want the light pollution to come in. So there's an argument to be made for both people's property rights. So let's say the city council votes, you know what, fuck it, let's turn on the lights at night. Let's see the Hollywood sign lit up. And they have good intentions. The intentions are that, it's going to stimulate the economy, whatever. But the bad outcome, potentially, is that property value next to the Hollywood sign drops because no one wants to live there if there's so much traffic.
Yeah, I also don't think that is a good intention. It's like my intention is to stimulate the economy. I think that's a weird way to have a goal. Your goal should be, I want to make money and I have a right to make money.
That's the same thing.
But you don't have a right to specifically make money in this oh, well, I want to make money off of tourism, so these people need to change their property for my way to make money. That's not how it works.
But it's not changing. I mean, you can literally. What about this example, Dreadmere? Let's say that let's just keep the status quo. The
Okay.
Hollywood hot sign is not lit up at night. No one can go in there. But what if I just, from my fucking house or balcony or whatever, want to shine a laser beam into their living room? Mm-hmm. Is that a violation of someone's rights?
Yeah, like an even better example would be if somebody's burning tires in their backyard and the smoke is getting into your backyard. It's It's like, oh, well, they're doing it on their property, right? It's like, but I would say like that is infringing on the other person's property rights. Like when you buy property, implicitly, you should be allowed to breathe on that property. Like other people living should not impede you from living. Like that's all there is to it. And if everybody had it divided in that way, you wouldn't have these issues where it's like, well, we need the government to come in and build a freeway because it'd be better for everybody. Every time you make these arguments like, oh, it would be better for the most people or the economy, that's when you're like, well, I guess we have to have the government step in. I'm saying you wouldn't have to do that if property rights were respected.
Okay, what if...
So how the fuck would we have a highway?
Privatized highway?
Because it go
There's
well,
no-
but,
how
but,
would
but what-
that ever
how would that ever happen?
I don't, again, so like these are the details where there'd be context.
Again, there's like detail.
Yeah.
There's a
Life
lot.
is detail.
I mean, what happened? I was driving the other day with Rucka. I was hanging out with Rucka, and we were driving, and I looked. We passed this like this pass by a canyon where I saw a bunch of netting on the side of the hill, and the netting was there to prevent rocks from sliding down onto the freeway. And I thought that's a government job.
Yeah.
Because no fucking private individual or company is going to be tasked with doing that because, first of all, what profit is there to be made from that?
There's also wet floor signs in every Walmart that you go to in hospital because if you get hurt on their property, they're going to be held responsible. And like, I don't necessarily know that like the details of how that should be handled, but I imagine the same response would be taken in this case too. If there was a highway and there was potential rocks falling on people and the company said, oh, well, people aren't going to use our highway if they think they can get crushed, so we should put up nets. I don't think that it's only government.
Okay, but then what happens if that company goes out of business and no one wants to take care of that freeway? Then what happens?
Nobody's going to want to take it. I don't see that being the case. Again, like people operate under motivation.
But it
And if you
happens, man.
So if we need it, someone's going to buy it and monetize it. If it's something that we need and like oh, we all need water, but nobody wants to collect it.
So what if like some company just comes in, like buys this, privatizes it? There would be no standardization. There's no standard system that like you know.
the only people who can't afford it are the people who can't afford it.
Yeah.
And fuck everybody else.
And what
because they don't need to? It's a privatized highway. You got to pay a toll to get there.
Yeah, and here's a real example. What if they decide to discriminate against politically? What if they decide that they're not going to let Republicans drive on that highway?
It's like what you're saying is a system that can quickly divulge into a very classist system of the have and the have-nots, which we already have. Like, let's be honest. But it's like I feel like the unintended consequences of your good intentions could be a system that is even more divided than what we have now.
Well, the system is not something that I'm considering really, but like what I am saying is that if the only way that people can take advantage of these kinds of situations is with government intervention. If somebody had a highway that was highly used and then they decided, you know what, we're going to raise the prices because everyone's using our highway, somebody else would make another highway like right next to it or in the
that's
same
a
way.
big assumption. What if there's already a house there? What if you can't? What if there's so many places like Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and San Francisco. Thank you, Ron.
I'm going to use my buzzer because we haven't even got to me yet.
Yeah, okay, what was you?
Oh, that's right.
Okay, what's the debate again? Because I feel like we've got goddamn off course.
Okay, do good intentions justify bad outcomes?
No, they don't justify bad outcomes. And they don't excuse bad outcomes, but it's a way for you to understand why the bad outcome occurred. You can't justify it. You can't say, well, I mean, I had a noble intention, so I'm sorry. It's because good intentions are subjective. So one person's good intention can be somebody else's like, no, man, that's fucking evil. I mean, that's all throughout history of what leaders who think they're doing something right. And it's like, no, man, that's some evil ass shit.
Communism.
Yeah, whatever. All of it. All the isms. So to me, it's like it's such a subjective thing to say that it doesn't justify the bad actions, but it is a lens in which you can look through and gain understanding. But I wouldn't use the word justify. I would strongly disagree.
Well, before the show, Dreadmere, you and I and Ron, we were talking about eugenics, right? Eugenics is, I think, a classic
Was that
example.
a protein powder?
It
does sound like something you buy at GNC, right?
There actually is some kind of protein or something that's called Nugenics.
Nugenics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This ain't your daddy's eugenics.
Yeah, but there's a black.
Eugenics.
It's like a black guy in the commercial who's like doing the advertising. There's like a lot of ethnicities in the crowd that he's talking to about it, so I think they're fine. But it is called Nugenics.
Everyone's got like perfect teeth.
Yeah, it's still a weird thing to name your product.
Yeah, Nugenics.
Based on the but yes, go on.
Yeah.
About.
So eugenics is a classic example of an argument that you can make where the intent is we should try to better the entire human race, but the way they do it is oftentimes horrific. By weeding out people with
A lot of that original eugenics argument came out of professors in California.
Did it really?
Which is what the Nazis latched onto when they were creating their platform.
Yeah,
I mean, I know all of our arguments end up at Nazis anyway. So
yeah,
but when you say eugenics, that's where it's going.
But that
partially came.
I mean,
from
like
California.
Spartans did that, right? Like they would kill people that were smaller or like retarded, and like Vikings did the same thing. Like they kept the most attractive women and like.
I mean, they did that. We do that with when breeding, foxes or dogs. They would kill the dogs that showed were aggressive to the animal. And then over generations, you make a more gentle dog or whatever.
Hell, I do that with my fan forum. It's called Maddox University for geniuses and babes who are geniuses only. That's
hot babes.
Hot
babes. And how could a genius not know the name of his own forum?
Yeah, I know. I change it sometimes. I mean, I invented it. I can change it whatever I want, Ron.
It's changing.
So I just want to clarify really quick here. So for eugenics, Maddox. Right? Is that what you said?
Well,
Big eugenics guy.
There's nuance and context and
It's
principles.
more like the new genics.
Yeah. Great. Go on.
Yeah, look, the argument can be made for the people who argue for eugenics.
Yeah.
That they had noble intentions.
They have
when
noble
they came
intentions,
up with it. They're
right.
like, we want to become better as a species.
As
then
society.
the practice of it is truly horrific.
Oftentimes it's been truly horrific. So, Ron, interesting. You mentioned that the Nazis kind of latched onto this California philosophy from these professors in California, which I don't know if that's the case. That's mind blowing. But this is something other people don't know too. There was a big Nazi bunker in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of people outside, and they closed it down a while ago. But it was way over in the hills, and it was
to planning for the inevitable. At the time, they thought that they would then conquer Europe and then come over to America, and this was a place to kind of get things started,
get a home base,
get a home base, get a compound, get all the flags together. Your Nazis gonna have a lot of flags,
and this is mind blowing, but. I just saw a video recently about it where there was a Nazi rally in New York, and this was in Times Square. It was what's the big park that they have there?
Grand Central Park?
Not Grand Central. I don't know. It was one of their big
Prospect Park.
Yeah, it was one of the big parks or something. They
Those
had a big
the
gathering.
two big parks.
Whatever. It was some place that they had a huge rally in New York, and this was not just Nazis. This was Americans going down there. They were supporting them and saluting them. Yeah. And there was some Jewish guys who ran up on stage and tried to disrupt the rally. And the U.S. cops went and tackled those Jewish guys and took them off stage.
It was America and still is, but for a long time it was very extremely anti-Semitic. I mean, we turned back boats of Jewish people who were looking as refugees, and there was a lot of people who didn't want to come out against the Nazis. They were in private, they're yeah, this is fucked up, but they didn't come out in public because a lot of America was super anti-Semitic at the time.
So what if you have let's play in this Dreadmere world where all the universities are privatized, because if we go back to a time in this country. And it's scary how quickly we could fall back into these times, but of segregation, where you have universities turning away black people, saying, we don't want you, we don't think you should be able to attend this university. Well, if that's the case, and all the universities are privatized, essentially what you can do is shut out a certain race, a certain group of people, and say, we're not going to educate you. You would say that that's okay under this ideal of property rights.
Can I answer for Dreadmere?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. No, obviously, Maddox, that's not okay. In your extreme example that you put in, what would happen is that people from that whatever who's being blocked out would start their own university, and then they would be educated there.
Okay. Yeah.
I got it?
Maybe the second part, but the first part is yes, that would be perfectly legitimate to turn away races, to turn away sexualities, to turn away trans people. That's perfectly legitimate under property rights. Just like you don't have to let every single person that wants to go into your home, and if you have a business or a university, you have the same rights. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't like that. I wouldn't like if people did that, and I would be with everybody who may be protesting that business, saying we're not going to go to that university, or we're not going to do this, and we're going to start our own university. I would be with that side, but that doesn't change the fact that right is legitimate. You're perfectly allowed to do that.
All right, we got a super chat in the chat room from DigXFig. He says, if Rucka was here, he'd school all of you in a second.
Oh,
Well, we'll probably be continuing this debate over Korean barbecue with Rucka and Dreadmere and Ron at some point.
yeah.
But,
I know people don't like hearing that. Like, it's like, it is an example that is used, and it's not extreme. Like, it's definitely, like, possible that...
Yeah, but this absurdist argument of, like, absolute property rights is bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Look at fucking Malibu. Here's something that, again, people who don't live in California don't know, but there's a lot of wealthy residents in Malibu who buy houses along the beach, and then they think they own the fucking property. They own the beach as well.
What's worse is that the explosion of population in California from the 70s to now is ridiculous. Like, it's like doubled in like population size. Yeah. So all these lots in Malibu are getting sold so they could build their houses on them.
Yeah,
and you're like,
forever.
great, cool, and they could do that.
And they just own
Except
it.
Now there's wildfires that happen, and after the wildfires, there's mudslides that happen, and now people keep. And it's the thing is we shouldn't have been selling homes in these places to begin with because they are like high instances of natural disasters that always happen. And then all their homes and then everybody's got to be, oh God, we got to help the people of Malibu. And now we're like, we got to rebuild. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be allowed to build in certain places.
Okay, so this was, I'm gonna channel Rucka since he's not here, but he gave a speech at an event that we went to called the Kilroy event. And in that, like, one of the things that people come up with for like arguing against property rights is kind of like a scarcity argument. Kind of sounds like similar to what you're saying, or like there's certain places that need to be built on and others that wouldn't or shouldn't be, or we don't have enough. What the kind of rational society that I'm talking about would like the sky is the limit. Like there's cities on top of cities. We're talking if like all of the unused land that governments that owns is not being used.
No, sorry to interrupt. That's not the argument Ron was making. He was saying that developing houses on those hills created mudslides that destroyed houses below them.
Yeah, and I think that we would adjust the environment so that people, like, if someone really wants to buy property in an area that's dangerous, it would be on them to make sure that it's safe. And I think it would be a lot easier to afford and do that if everybody's standard of living was raised to the point where like we didn't have to go through government and all these kinds of things to make sure that it's safe to begin with. Like it's just weird for me to think like, oh well, like I'm not saying you should live in a volcano, but I'm saying if you live in a place that's like prone to like mudslides or wildfires, you should take precautions and not expect the government to just like usher people out, or you know what I mean.
Okay, but the government has to come in and rescue these people.
Wait, no, before we even get to that point, what if you buy a house in the 70s, right, on a foothill, and then you shouldn't expect the government come in and like save you and fix you or whatever, change property rights. Yeah. But someone after you bought your property bought the property above yours that changed the landscape in a way that put yours at risk, in jeopardy.
And then a mudslide happened, and that house falls on top of your house.
Yes. How's that fair?
So,
and by the way, real quick, before you answer, I did see a message from Taylor. He retracted the chat room, but I'm still going to read it. He said, did Ron just make the argument that nobody should live in Malibu?
I think that's what he said.
I think he did, yeah.
I think I did, yeah.
And because Taylor revoked it, people are like, well, what the hell did Taylor say here?
Taylor must have said something super racist.
He was talking about Eugenics, he swears.
Yeah. They have some good ideas. That's all I want to say. All
right, Dreadmere, I'm sorry. I'm going to give you a chance to
This
respond.
Sounds like the argument you've made before where it's like, well, what if somebody buys the property around your property and now you can't leave your house?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's infringing on your rights. You're not free to leave your house.
Okay,
like,
then let's get back to this. So
same thing.
Do you think that people should be able to buy beach property?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Now, it's possible. There's a very limited amount of coast in the United States on either side, the Atlantic and the Pacific. Yeah. So you're saying, under your Looney Tunes universe, that every single square inch of that coast can be sold to personal private property developers, and they could say, okay, we're not going to let any ships harbor. We're not going to have any fucking shipments from China or Japan or anything anymore because it's my backyard, and you don't have. I don't have to let you fucking harbor.
No, there'd be a private company that would allow the shipping companies in, and they would own that section of the coast.
You would hope. These are all hopeful arguments. Is that what you would say?
I think that could be a decision that everybody would make, but like it doesn't make any sense. Like I'm saying that's not what they would do. What they would do is they would want to. So again, we're talking about intentions, and you're talking about it like in the vein of like applying to the most people. And I'm saying if you start with yourself and want the most for yourself, then I don't see why people would do that. Like, they would want to make more money. If this is a place of transports, then they would have to go through them and they would make money. It's like, I don't see why people would just talk like not make money just for the sake of like screwing people over.
There are lots of examples.
Would you say that most people, I guess you live in you would say that most people are logical? Rational, logical people, like at their core?
I think that they could be.
In the system that you're kind of saying is you're kind of appealing to people's rational logic selves.
I'm saying living in that system, there would be more rational, logical people. I don't know that like a lot of people would agree with that now in like our current system, but like definitely in what I'm talking about, it would be a rational society. I think everybody could be that way, but
I think a lot of Dreadmere's principles and good intentions actually are good for society. I don't know if we agree in the execution of them, but I don't think there's any harm in adopting some of them, because I do think it would like living like that with this sense of self and the sense of like kind of having a grounded principle that's kind of driving you is like a good thing. But I just don't necessarily agree with the outcome of all of it.
Well, it sounds like we can all agree that there should be more executions. All right, so of ideas, of principles.
Right,
right?
yeah.
Anyway, guys, well, this could go on. This is a really fascinating debate. I feel like we kind of delved into property rights, but that's a really good example of when you have good intentions, right? Our intention at the outset, I think that if you write down, it's a great bumper sticker. Individual property rights all the way, man. I'm all for it.
There's this like intentions of I was listening to this podcast about they dumped a bunch of tires, like a shit ton of tires, into the ocean. Like it's like 5 square miles of fucking tires, thinking it would become a great reef for fishes. No, tires don't work like that. They just leached everything out of the rubber tires, and now it's this massive, I think it's way more than 5 square miles. It's this massive dead zone.
Oh, yeah.
And so now people are like, well, that didn't work. And now they realize that they sometimes instead they sink like old boats and stuff like that. And those become reefs and active places for fish and ecosystems and yada, yada, yada. But there was that noble intention there of like, let's make a reef. And then they did it. And it was like, well, that didn't work. And now you have this dead zone and thousands of tires. And nobody's going to go back and pick up those tires.
No one's
They're just all down there.
And by the way,
it's off the Florida coast.
Was that a government project or a private company that did that?
Don't know.
But again, the problem with that is pragmatism. It's saying, let's try something because I think it'll work, not because it's based on any individual values. What I'm saying is your good intention.
No, I mean, it could have been based on individual values of people who wanted to see like more life in the ocean. We don't know that.
Well, selfish values. It's not like that's what they should be based on.
What if it's commercial? Yeah. Oh, you're saying they should. It should be. Okay, that's fine. So the interest in self-pursuit, like the self-pursuit there is, let's say some company says, hey, look, if we reinvigorate this create more, what'd you call it, coral reef or whatever?
Yeah, like a coral reef.
Coral reef. Like, let's do that, and it's going to spur tourism, which we can then profit off of.
Mm-hmm.
That's a selfish motive. Same thing with the the people selling trinkets on Hollywood Boulevard. If they light up the sign at night, they'll be able to sell more. They'll be able to stay open later, be able to make more money. Mm-hmm. But because someone else's rights, like sometimes your individual rights necessarily infringe on another person's. And I'll give you 2 examples: airspace and ground space. Let's say you buy a house. Who owns the airspace above your house? Can someone fly a drone over it? And who owns the ground space? Well, you would argue, I do. I should be able to build a basement if I want. Well, what if someone wants to build their fucking house right under yours?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, how far down does it go? How far?
Yeah, how far up does it go?
I think it's like 30 feet for a house, or 60 feet or something like that.
Yeah, well, who regulated that? I would.
I mean, it should be the person who owns the property. That's what I would say.
Tell the core.
What are they going to have, like
how
giant
deep do you
fucking
go?
signs, don't fly this high?
Yeah, I mean, do you go past the core of the earth to the other side of China? Like, hey, guys, I bought this house over in Sorry, you can't build it into here.
Yeah, that's what
property right.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
okay, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Just pop your head on the other side, and be like, excuse me.
No. All right, guys, this has been a fun debate. There's so much we could argue here. But vote on madcastmedia.com on which side of the debate. Again, do good intentions justify bad outcomes? And also, Dreadmere's up for a promotion or demotion. We'll find out next time he's on the show. But we should move on to a recap of last week's debate. Last week, we debated. So that was the big debate we had about Gillette razors. They came out with that advertisement that was somewhat controversial because, they said, is this the best a man can get? And then they showed a bunch of examples of men groping women and bullying people. And then the message Again, good intentions. The message was we shouldn't bully, we shouldn't harass, we shouldn't sexually assault and catcall and all these terrible things. But the outcome, was it a good one? And that's one we could even look at. We should have talked about that the whole. Having a real good tie into this fucking thing. Well, anyway, I asked the audience, regardless of whether or not you agree, is the intent of the Gillette ad positive or negative? And with 82% of the vote, positive.
Oh,
that's surprising from this audience.
well, look at that! Look at you guys.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a bunch of MRA shitheads voting.
So they said that it helped.
No, they said the intent was good.
Oh,
Would you agree, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think they thought it was good. Yeah.
Well, there's two possible intentions that they had with that advertisement. One is social change, and two is to make money. Do you think that either of those intents are good? Positive social change, I should say.
Not positive social change. I mean, maybe if that's like the world you want to live in. I don't know, but like, yeah,
they're motivated by their individual value of making money, and they're looking through the lens of using positive social change as a way of making money.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, is that a good thing? I mean, I guess, but yeah, I guess it's a good intention. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's a weird way to go about it. Because it's kind of dishonest, right? Like, it's kind of saying, like, these things are important to me, but really, like, I don't know. I guess it's like a motivational speaker, right? It's like a guy who's making money off of telling people, like, to live for themselves and stuff. It's like
Isn't that every influencer?
It's a lot of them. Definitely a lot of them. I don't know. It's hard to say if they had good intentions. I can't really tell.
Well, the answer is they did have good intentions.
Okay.
Then I asked, the second part of the debate was, are companies selling us razors or Gillectures? And with 76% of the vote, razors. No, they're selling us Gillectures. I wrote that to make it sound, I biased that question so that you guys would answer a certain way, and you didn't. Pay attention to my biases, idiots.
Okay.
All right, before we move on, I got a shit ton of voicemail. Dreadmere, I got some voicemail I saved for you as well.
Oh, good. I'm getting ass blasted again?
A little bit. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
I think you'll be surprised. I was surprised when I heard these voicemails. But Ron, before we get to that, let's hear your Babcock tip. What do you got for us this week?
What kind of mat do you guys have in your bathroom?
I got a cloth mat.
All right,
Yeah,
Dreadmere?
like a fuzzy one.
It's like a towel, but it's a mat, but it has like a towel kind of texture.
Yeah, so I want you guys to go to your bathroom. I want you to pick up those mats, and I want you to toss those right in the garbage.
Okay.
Okay? I want you to toss your disgusting little dirty fucking washcloth mat. First of all, Maddox, don't even, because I just went to your bathroom and the mat isn't even there.
Yeah, because
so
they hung it on the side so people don't step on it with their shoes. What do you have to say about that, Ron?
Oh, so the whole purpose of having a mat, you're just not using it because you don't want to be used for its original intent?
No, its original intent is when you get out of the shower so you don't make the floor wet.
No, I'm talking about the mat outside of your bathtub. Like the one?
Yeah,
the one?
that's used when you get out of the shower, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so you
And
put
I wash
moisture on that and you wash it and it
Yeah.
looks good for like a day.
Yeah.
And then it's disgusting for the rest of the
Right.
2 weeks until you wash,
Wash
it
it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for most of the time your mat is in existence, it's disgusting. What if you guys didn't use a fucking cloth mat? What if you took it out of your brain that cloth is the only thing that can do things? You chuck that shit in the garbage, you go to Bed Bath & Beyond or Amazon, you get yourself a teak bath mat. Teak, made out of wood.
Ooh.
Wood looks good in any bathroom decor. We've had it for fucking years. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, we
this
have had wood
shit
for a while.
Looks fucking tight.
That
No,
does sound tight.
my girlfriend and I
Oh,
had one in our bathroom for years, and I was looking at it, I'm like, this thing is fine. Like, it doesn't sop up water like a cloth mat, but I don't want it to. Like,
Is it raised?
It is. It's a little bit raised.
Oh, gosh.
Feels good on the feet, kind of a little nice.
Yeah, I do like
and
that.
it looks tight, and I swear you don't need to wash it. All you need to do is just pick it up. You sweep anytime you sweep your bathroom, and then shake it out. You're good to go.
Oh,
So that's my tip: is throw your cloth mats in the garbage. Get yourself a teak mat.
Damn it, Ron. You really pulled the rug out from underneath me, literally.
It's actually more the teak mat.
Right. Yeah.
I was ready to shit on this so hard because I was like, I fucking
Dude,
wash my feet,
every
Ron. I know
fucking
where you're
time.
going with this.
The club soda bitters. You texted me. You're like, club soda and bitters, not bad. I like
Yeah.
it. I'm like, I'm telling you.
You drink. I ordered it 3 times since you told me told me. I texted Ron. I texted Ron like after last week's episode. Ron's Babcock tip was club soda and bitters.
Yeah, if you're looking for if you're at a bar and you just don't want to start drinking but don't want to have water, it's like saves money. Kind of maybe have one less drink than you would otherwise, especially if you're driving.
Yeah, and also I happened to be on a date, and I was like, I've been drinking a lot tonight. If this date ends up in Pound Town, I'm not like I want my junk to work. I better cool it on the whiskey.
This is what you told her?
No.
We're gonna make a stop in Pound Town.
Yeah. You know what? I was just thinking it might be a detour in Pound Town, and then
I think this was the girl driving the car that he was yelling in before about how to park.
Oh. Oh, she was so
That's
turned
not the
up.
way to get to Pound Town.
Yeah.
You guys don't know the direction.
Also, I'm always like a little suspect of any man who uses the words Pound Town.
Girls like that shit. It's my romance language. Anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to cool it on the drink. Because I don't want to be
You mind if I stop in Turdberg before we head to Pound Town?
It's just good in general not to get like too sloppy, especially like on dates, first dates, that sort of thing.
I was so happy when you messaged me that. That made me so happy.
Yeah, I did. And it was the first time I tried it. Oh, you know what? It wasn't a date. It was I was with my friend Brad.
Did you guys go to Pound Town?
Yeah.
No. We just got burgers. We got burgers.
Sounds like a nice date.
Yeah, but I didn't want to get too drunk because then I still want my junk to work no matter what. You don't know what could happen.
Is that a principle of yours?
It is a principle of mine, Dreadmere.
Okay.
Man, I'm sweating. I'm too nervous talking about this shit. But anyway, I tried the soda and bitters, and first of all, it's a delicious drink. People underestimate how good bitters are.
It's a nice little floral little kick, yeah.
You know what? And I watched them make the drink several times at bars, and the bitters are not a thing. Some bars make it their own in-house, and they it's like kind of a concoction of berries and things like that, and with like some aromatics, like you were saying.
Yeah, I use the Angostura. I always forget the name of it, but it has a yellow tip, and it has this kind of crazy label on it.
Yeah, like a paper label.
Yeah, but it's not like affixed completely. It's like wrinkly. It's like Angostura bitters, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and it tastes so good. It tastes like Christmas in a drink plus soda. Mm-hmm. I wish they made sodas that tasted like bitters. I would drink that shit.
You don't have to, just add bitters.
What a manly fucking... Yeah, but Ron, if I'm in a fucking vending machine...
The first time you get it, it does kind of taste like a weird like aftershave, but then you kind of love it.
I love it,
yeah. I'm totally addicted to it.
And it did make it so that I didn't want to drink. Maybe it was just like psychological because placebos work on me.
It's good for your digestion, too.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's good. Oh, well, club soda is a little soda, a water with bubbles.
Delicious drink. But anyway, we should get on to some...
Just send me, if any of you are listening at home, send me a picture of you guys like standing on a teak bath mat, drinking a club soda bitters while reading The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins.
Great.
And that'll be the Trinity.
Well, and juggling lint balls in one.
Oh, yeah.
The ultimate...
Yeah, the ultimate Babcock tip.
Yeah.
That's enlightenment, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we should get to some voicemail. So I got this voicemail. We got a bunch of people fired up about our debate about the Gillette ads from last week. I'll start out with one, but talking about just like Gillette and how the company hasn't ever done anything for this guy. Listen to this.
Hey, Lord Maddox, another Minnesotan calling. I think the problem with why people don't really respect Gillette's opinion is that Gillette has never done anything for anybody else. Maybe if Gillette had come to my aid after my car broke down and made a ride to the airport at 5 a.m., then I would really respect Gillette's opinion. But, as it turns out, they just sell me razors. So, in conclusion, Gillette can suck my spaghetti, and by spaghetti, I mean my meatballs, and by my meatballs, I mean my fat fucking dick. Amen.
Yeah, so I think that's a nod to the helpful Honda ads.
I think it would also be interesting if this is truly something that they just to cash in on the moment, or if they're going to actually start. It depends on what they do next.
Well,
is this a pattern or is this a one-off?
I was telling Dreadmere before the show that this may set a pattern because overall, when the ad came out, it was an overwhelmingly negative response to it. It was something like, like 5 or 6 downvotes to 1. Now it's 0.7 to 1. Like
interesting.
It's
so
almost
leveled out.
It's almost leveled out. Yeah. So
I feel like the pattern was kind of set by Nike, right? Well, maybe before that, but like as far as recent time, like Nike definitely was like, we're going to take a stance on like one controversial side, and it was, it's not really controversial, but like they're the ones picking a side, and I think Gillette kind of did the same thing. Like that's kind of what it looks like to me.
Yeah, we're in this weird era where companies are having to make political statements like Papa John's.
Yeah, it's also weird like how like what you consume now
Yeah.
is also like what you believe in politically.
Yeah, I think that's stupid. Like I was gonna make a sketch about this, like where it's like I'm like eating something and like talking on the phone and doing all this stuff, and it's like, oh, so you're like a SJW, like rate, like whatever. It's like, no, I'm just like eating a pizza. It's like, no, you're not. Like you're supporting.
Yeah, like if you're eating like a chicken sandwich in front of Hobby Lobby.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like so it's. I guess you can. I mean, I guess some people can just go and eat at Chick-fil-A, and it's like I'm just eating at Chick-fil-A. But some people can choose to make it a very political statement as well.
Yeah, and some people won't use Uber anymore because and this is like a like a deep cut. Like a while ago, there was some like taxi cab protest in New York or something like that. Was that what it was? Mm-hmm. And then Uber kind of like scabbed, and they said they gave a discount or something for people using their service because they like wanted to encroach in on, and people are like, what the fuck, that's like you guys crossing the picket line here. I got a story like that in the news that we'll get to in a minute, but here's another voicemail about the Gillette ad. This guy is really fired up. Listen to this guy.
Hey Maddox, just got through listening to the latest podcast, and I gotta say it was the worst one yet. You were supposed to be arguing against the anti-male Gillette ad, but instead all four of you just sounded like the typical hate white male, cater to the LGBT, ACDC community progressives. No one thinks bullying and sexual harassment is a good thing. This was just an attack on masculinity in general. It's to further the wussification of the West so we can all be ruled by clipped hair, mean-faced feminazis. God forbid if there were ever a real war again in America, could never survive with a generation of such snowflakes. So yeah, fuck off and fuck whales.
I think he said all that in the church. That's what it sounded like.
He was in a church. Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
Dude.
You can't simultaneously argue that we're a generation of snowflakes, but then also be so outraged about a razor ad that you have to call into the show. And also, I do want to point this out. He was like, "No, none of you made the argument that we shouldn't say this. That no one is saying." That's literally what I said in the episode. Here's a quick refresher to remind everyone of what I actually said during that episode.
You were supposed to be arguing against the anti-male Gillette ad. No one thinks bullying and sexual harassment is a good thing.
We know that rapists and fucking murderers and bullies are not the best a man can get. So their disingenuous rhetorical question at the top of the commercial, is this the best a man can get? No! Nobody is saying that.
Oh. Well. Sounds like I did make that fucking argument, shithead.
I know you're fired up because you went and used sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's one more. Douchebag of the week. Yeah, fuckface, you want to call me out for not making an argument that I actually made, you might want to clear the shit out of your ears.
So he's probably not going to get admission into Maddox University.
No, Maddox. In fact, caller, please send in your name so if you're in the group, I can kick you out.
Please apply so you can be denied.
You're out of my eugenics experiment.
Too bad.
Too bad. Those are the only people who are spared. All right, here's another voicemail. This was surprising because Dreadmere, I didn't know you were going to call in.
Oh,
yeah, I got a call from Dreadmere.
Cool.
Yeah, listen to this.
Hi, Maddox. This is Dreadmere. So, like, depression is, like, not real. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why all these scientists and, like, psychologists, like, wasted all their time, like, going to school and, like, doing studies. Why don't they just read, like, Ayn Rand, you know? They just read The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged and just save you a bunch of time instead of doing things like, you know, science and using, like, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, depression's not real.
Sounds like you took a hit from your vape at the end of that call. Dreadmere, thank you for calling in, buddy. That's a real supporter, Dreadmere.
Love being on the show, I guess. Can't get enough. Yeah, that's is that what I said? I said like fuck science and fuck facts.
Yeah.
No, I think what people are missing is I'm saying bad science is what can create these false ideas, and it exists. It's the same reason that people will kill albinos in Africa or do much worse because they think it's going to cure their AIDS. Like, that's bad science. Like, it's still technically science the way they see it, but
the science is still out on that. But
yeah, I guess it's to be decided. But like, yeah, I'm just saying, like,
you're really pushing this eugenics thing right now.
Yeah.
It's funny how any episode of this show is a very slippery slope to eugenics.
Yeah.
Hey, shitheads.
Well, Dreadmere, look, it's not always clowning on you. Here's a caller that actually here's a caller that actually agrees with you. Listen to this.
Hey, I just want to call because I think it's bullshit that everybody's always shitting on Dreadmere. I mean, there are people who are mentally ill and do have a significantly reduced ability to seek out their own happiness and joy in life. But for the rest of us, we're not fucking children or idiots. We can set goals. We can do what we want in life. And to your point, Maddox, yes, there are people who have lived such a deprived life that they do not know how to do that. But again, that is the minority of people. And if you go back to the beginning of the debate topic, is social media making us depressed? And to Dreadmere's point, no, it's not making us depressed. We're making ourselves depressed because instead of using ourselves as the yardstick to measure, we are using someone else. And we don't have to. We have the power to make ourselves happy, with a few exceptions to that rule.
I'm watching
Okay,
the
fuck
keyboard.
whales, bye.
Because I'm waiting for you to press douchebag of the week. Because I feel like every time someone agrees with me, you're just like, nope, douchebag, not
I just
douchebag.
read a new study that they did where they gave, I think, 900 people $100 each to get off Facebook for a month. And they let the people choose the number. That was like kind of the number that people agreed upon. Was like, if I was going not to use Facebook for a month, you'd have to pay me $100, which is crazy to show the value that it has in people's lives. And they said after the month that the majority of people responded being happier, but were less informed on day-to-day happenings.
Great. That sounds. I think that those two things correlate. The less you know about the shit, like right now, the fucking flavor of the week, and I don't want to read the story. I don't want to delve into the debate about it, but there's like some governor in Vermont or something. Virginia, yeah, and they found some picture in his yearbook where he was either in blackface or in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, and then the debate became like, which is worse? I'm like, can everyone just fuck off?
And he says he wasn't, but now he says he's not. As of right now, as of this recording, he says he's not. It's not him. So he went back, and so
and everyone's just so disingenuous with it. People on the left are kind of like, oh well, and then people on the right are also like just pouncing on it, whereas they would defend the people. Like if it's someone from your party, you're going to try to minimize the the perceived slight and defend them, and if it's someone from the opposition, you're going to try to maximize the offense.
So it's not about what it is; it's about the fact that this is your guy or not your guy,
right?
And then so like every argument about it is kind of disingenuous because you're not arguing like the principle of the matter. You're just arguing like trying to minimize or maximize damage.
I mean, I think you should be consistent. Like a long time ago.
That's funny. Consistent is actually my word of the year.
Word of the year.
Another Babcock tip.
Have I ever been inconsistent? Have I ever said something contradictory? You guys think?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
you are consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, consistently inconsistent. There you go. Well, anyway, guys, we should get to. Oh yeah, we still got some more voicemails. Ron, this one's for you.
Yeah. Oh shit.
You were talking about that door handle last week.
Oh yeah.
The full on like
the sanitary
Roman
door handle.
Yeah, the Roman sleeve door handle. You remember that? Did you? Yeah. Listen to this.
Ron, are you seriously afraid of a bathroom door handle?
Fuck yeah!
I got this L thing, and I can put my arm through it, and I don't have to touch the handle. Get the fuck out of here, man. You know when I wash my hands? When I shit on them. A couple times a week, max. Fuck whales.
I don't.
And fuck you, all of you, everybody listening to this message. Go fuck yourself. And good night.
Right.
I mean, listen. Yeah, I'm afraid of fucking germs because I see how many people don't wash their hands in the public restroom. So yeah, I don't like to touch the handle. But that's also bullshit because I'll like do whatever I can to not use the handle of the bathroom door. And then when I'm like leaving the restaurant or whatever, I'm just like immediately put my hand on the doorknob. So it's not like the only. They're all disgusting.
Yeah. You're afraid of bath mats. You're afraid of doorknobs. You're afraid of dust.
I have a thing against the way people treat their bathrooms for sure because they look like abandoned gymnasiums when you go inside.
I got a compliment from two different women.
Dude, that says so much about the women you're dating.
It wasn't a woman I was dating.
And the lens at which you live life through.
Wait a second,
I want to come in.
Ron. I don't like the way you said that. What does that mean, Ron?
I mean, I don't think there could be a little scrubbing done in the bathroom.
Whew. Well, tell that to the women who came into my bathroom and was like, "Wow, Maddox, you got a real tight. You keep a real tight ship over here."
I'm gonna go take another look at it again.
Yeah, take another look because it's not as bad. It's not like a bachelor bathroom.
It's not a bachelor bathroom.
Yeah, because you walk into a bachelor bathroom and Dreadmere, do you have a bachelor bathroom?
Yeah, I guess so.
You
Yeah.
got pubes all over the floor, all over the bathroom.
Do you have an Irish bar covered in pubic hair and shame? Irish Spring?
Okay, Ron, my bathroom would be your best day ever because it's
I would love that.
It's like when people come to my house, they're taking pictures of like how organized my medicine cabinet is and everything.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Because they think it's weird, like how clean and organized
it's not
it is.
weird. It's actually the opposite is weird. That's what I hate when people think like I'm the weird guy for having my fucking shit together. I'm the weird guy for knowing where things are in my apartment.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, if I ask you for something and you don't know where it is, that's to me is fucked up.
Yeah.
Here's
And I'm the fucking psycho because I got my shit together.
Here's an Adam.
OCD is the get shit done disease. Okay.
I guess. Oh, well, here's an Adam Carolla tip, Ron, that I think you would love. He always says if it costs less than $5, if it's one of those things that you need and in a pinch and you can't find it, just buy a bunch of them and throw them all over the house, like nail clippers, scissors. Just put a scissor in fucking every drawer, and then you're never gonna be looking for a scissor because the time you save just getting that thing is gonna be way more worth than $5.
I'm a guy who every place has his thing and everything has his place. I have one pair of scissors.
Yeah,
I know
but you
exactly
also,
where it is.
But
and that's where it lives.
You also live with a girlfriend, and when you live with
She
people,
has one pair of scissors too, and she knows where hers is.
Oh, she's good about that.
She's pretty good about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've lived with people who aren't. And it infuriates. I'm like, where the fuck are the scissors? And then I find out that there's like one rusty, like I have kitchen scissors, which are, kitchen shears, which are stainless steel and made as a certain specification and class for cutting food versus my fucking rusty ass scissors that I use for cutting everything else. And I don't want to mix them up. Is that such a big fucking deal? Can I just ask that I have one fucking pair of scissors that are kept clean?
I'm just glad you're over it.
Can I?
Yeah, okay. Real quick before we move on, though, I got a super chat from Pavich Bavin for $5. He said, "We had the Rucka wrap-up. Now we need a dissing Dreadmere as a segment."
It's my favorite part.
What do you think of that, Dreadmere?
Yeah.
Have a dissing Dreadmere?
I think if you have any questions or comments or concerns about me and who I am, feel free to leave your voicemails and don't hold back.
I also like somebody just kicked the microphone out, and somebody in the chat room wrote, Ron has good Commissioner Keck wrote, Ron had good intentions but bad outcome.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well,
tying it all up.
Yeah. We should move on. We got a couple more voicemails. This is a Babcock tip request, Ron, because last week we talked about your drinking tip. Well, here's a caller who requests more.
Hey, Lord Maddox, it's me. And Ron, do you have like a Babcock drinking tip that isn't for pussies? Something like let's just say the best a man could get instead of just drinking fun water. Fuck whales.
Yeah, do you have any tips
too.
that aren't for pussies? Or not pussy related?
I would say, you know what? Let's say if you want to have a drink that's fun, but also not the kind of normal. Most times people would go with old fashions, but I'd say old fashions are good. But I would skip that. I'd say go straight to Manhattan. Nobody gets Manhattans anymore.
What's a Manhattan?
Okay, it's whiskey, dry vermouth, a little bit of bitters, and a little bit of an orange peel.
Oh, that sounds great. And it sounds like
bitters.
That sounds like a Negroni. Yeah, that sounds like a Negroni. I'm into
it's really good. They're like little, it's like the whiskey, but then you have the sweetness of the vermouth. Actually, it's like my mom drinks them, and I finally had one. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Mom! Like this is just pretty strong.
It's a sailor drink.
Get a Manhattan. It's an old timey drink.
I dated a girl who worked at a bar in San Francisco, and she said that all the startup tech guys would like these young guys with money would always get Negronis because I guess like some Mad Men character always drank them or something, or maybe it's like a hipster thing. I don't really know, but she said that they taste terrible. That's
Doug Stanhope is really put Negronis back on the map. He was always talking about it on his podcast.
Yeah,
and I think part of the reason why people got into Negronis.
If it's perfectly made and it has to be just the right ratio of the ingredients, because it's just even a little bit off and it makes it taste weird. But if a perfectly made Negroni, I was hanging out with Adam from Your Movie Sucks. The YouTube channel, Adam? Yeah. We were downtown, and he loves Negronis too. We were downtown at this bar in Los Angeles called The Standard, and we weren't even at the high-end bar upstairs. We were just in the, like, they have this ping pong room, which is like people who can't get into the fucking party upstairs hang out. So we were like down there because it's like during VidCon, it was kind of a shit show. Blair White was there. We're all kind of hanging out, and we ordered Negronis from the bartender down there. And Adam and I got the same drink. Cheers. You know, we had a little cheers, and then we sipped, and we both kind of looked at each other in the eyes, and we're like, what the fuck? This is the best fucking drink. And we both took a moment to kind of savor that first sip. And I'm like, Adam, is your drink really good? He goes, yeah, this is the best Negroni I've ever had. I'm like, me too. And we both took such a long time.
What's in a Negroni again?
It's, I believe it's vermouth, Campari, gin, and bitters, and then an orange peel. But whatever it was, this bartender just nailed it. And I haven't had one as good since, but damn, when you get a really good one. Anyway, here's one last voicemail. This is a celebrity call-in. Guys, we sometimes get celebrity call-ins, and here's one. Didn't know he's a big fan of the show. Listen to this.
Hello, Maddox. It's your boy, Jason Statham.
Oh, it's my boy.
I was walking down the street a few minutes ago, and a mime came up to me. So I punched him right in his fucking nose. It made me think of you, mate. I just wanted to tell you I'm your biggest fan. I never miss a show. All right, guys. You take care.
All right, Jason Statham. Now, I can tell he's a real fan, and this is like a deep-cut Maddox reference, because he referenced mimes, and that is like really, really old-school Maddox 1.0 shit. Like, one of the first articles I ever wrote in 1997 was just me shitting on mimes, because I thought they were creepy.
Yeah.
And that's like an old school Maddox reference.
It's weird because, you know, on the weekends you now moonlight as a mime.
All right, Ron?
Dude, that'd be fucking hilarious.
So you're
if
saying
was a
that's
mime.
probably really him then?
Yeah, that's actually Jason Statham, and he's a long time
You
fan.
do know I have a mime bit, right?
Oh, that's right. You have the whole Ron.
It's like I have an old,
and it's hilarious.
I have an anti-mime bit. It's on YouTube.
It's so funny. It's so fucking funny.
The mime bit. That's what I call it.
Yeah, and it's the first time I saw it was a surprise to me because I didn't know you had that bit, and it blew my mind because it's so well done. It's so well rehearsed. You guys got to see this thing.
It's the mime bit. You watch it on my YouTube, Ron Babcock.
Making
pretty good.
Making a pizza.
Pretty good bit.
Yeah, it's a really great bit. I love it. All right, guys, we should get some quick news headlines. We've got to wrap this up. World's oldest woman who didn't enjoy a single day of her life finally dies.
Oh my God.
This is like the female version of me if I was like 129. She's like, she says here, she died at 129 years old. A woman believed to be the oldest person to have ever lived has died at age 129. Now I kind of skimmed this article. I'm like, oh man, this lady's so crusty. She's so
129.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah, like what was so bad about her life? And then I kind of read the article. I'm like, fuck me, this is a bad life. So her name is Koku Istambulova. A survivor of Stalin's repressions, would have turned 130 in June, according to accepted pension records in Russia. She was older than a woman listed in the Russian Book of Records who died last month, supposedly aged 128. Officials believe, wow, we're losing all our 130s, 128 and 130s. Koku made headlines last year by saying that she had never lived a single happy day in her long life.
That was self-reported? That was her saying that?
Yeah, she said that personally. Her grandson, Ilyas, said that she had supper as usual on Sunday, January 27th at her village home in Chechnya. She was born in 1889. Holy fucking shit, man. In an extraordinary
She was like a teenager by World War I. She was a teenager.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
Not even older. Yeah, 1917. Oh my God, that's crazy.
It says here that in an extraordinary and moving testimony broadcast last year, she spoke emotionally of the appalling day her native Chechen people were deported en masse by Stalin to Stepes. What is it? How did you pronounce that? Stepes? Steepies?
No, I don't know.
Of Kazakhstan 75 years ago. She told how people died in the cattle truck trains and their bodies were thrown out of the carriages to be eaten by hungry dogs. Her age was correct. Koku was 54 at the time, having earlier lived through the coronation of last Tsar Nicholas II 2 days before her 7th birthday, and his toppling when she was 27. Holy shit, man. It was a bad day, cold and gloomy, she said, of the February morning in 1944 when the entire nation was banished from their mountain homeland in the Trans-Caucasus. Is that how it's pronounced? I want to say Caucasus. No, it's Trans-Caucasus. Whatever. Anyway, it's gone.
Yeah.
We were put on the train and taken no one knew where. Railway carriages were stuffed with people. Dirt, rubbish, excrement was everywhere. Stressing the cruelty of Stalin's actions, she told journalists in her native Chechen language, "Write that. There was excrement in the carriages." She wanted to emphasize that. Holy shit, man. Yeah, pretty bad
Could
life.
you imagine turning 60 and then having, like, you know, your future self come and tell you, like, hey, you're not even halfway done. At 60, she wasn't even halfway done.
She wasn't over the hill until, what, 63?
She died at 129?
129, so 65.
64 and a half.
Yeah, 64 and a half. That's her over the hill. Holy
Damn.
shit. And then every single day, just misery. That's
And after 90, like, how much can you really be doing? You know, like, how much mobility?
She didn't look that bad. I saw her, and I would have seen, like, I would have compared her to any Midwest grandma. She just looked, you know, she looked okay. She didn't look like, I've seen, there's another, like, old lady who died a long time ago. She's like 109 or 120 or some shit. And her eyes look like, you know when you leave an apple out too long and it gets really, really dry and wrinkly?
Yeah.
And then, like, it looked like that, and it was like, I want to go in there with my thumbs and just, like, open up her eyelids a little bit for her so she can see light again.
Well, they say pessimists live longer than optimists, so...
Is that true?
You guys will be living for fucking ever.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't believe anything that lady said. Not a single word of it, so... Nothing about how long she lived, what she lived through, and
Stalin. You don't believe Stalin happened?
I don't believe she had anything to do with anything. But I think she might have seen it.
Wait, are you serious, Fred? I can't tell if you're doing a bit.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not buying it.
All right. Well,
Did someone corroborate her story? Is there? Cause she's
No, they're all dead.
There's
see?
Sorry, Dreadmere. Sorry that everyone she's ever known has died.
I'm sorry too.
There's a point in your life when you become, like, you know, so old that literally everyone you've ever met has died.
If you're
everyone
lucky.
you grew up with, yeah.
It's kind of weird.
And then some Dreadmere will come along and be like, well, what proof?
Did it really happen?
I know it's real. It's from the 1800s. Is there any record I can double check? What about the internet? Did you get... They did post her ID though. They did post a picture of her ID on the website. That was on metro.co.uk, I believe. Yeah, mirror.co.uk. A new study shows that sleepers can learn languages from scratch in the depths of their slumber.
Oh,
How
really?
cool is that? Yeah, I know.
Oh, fuck.
I see your gears turning, Ron.
Yeah. Keep reading.
It says here, people can learn a new language in their sleep, a new study suggests. A groundbreaking experiment established it was possible to learn new words and their semantic associations from scratch while in the depths of sleep. Scientists already know that the fragile neurological connections that form the basis of memory are strengthened during deep sleep, and previous studies have shown that words learned during consciousness can be consolidated by being repeated to a person during their sleep. That's kind of interesting.
How is it, like learning a word or two, or like?
No, it sounds like if you're already learning that stuff and then you have that stuff repeated to you in your like your subconscious, you still pick up on it. Like imagine, you know how sometimes you're dreaming and the phone will ring in your dream, and you go to answer the phone in your dream and you wake up and it's your actual phone that's ringing. Like your mind will conjure that based on what your subconscious mind is still hearing. So I think there might be something to that.
Sometimes I wonder though if, like, maybe I should just give my brain a little bit of a rest. Like, I spend the whole day putting stuff in, listening to podcasts, trying to learn as much as possible, reading all the time, that I'm wondering if I went to sleep and I'm putting on headphones to, like, learn fucking Spanish, my brain would be like, can you just give it a rest? Can you just give me a few hours?
Yeah. Real quick in the chat room, Edlin Martinez says, anything you happen with Maddox's crazy neighbor? That's right, Edlin, because I mentioned a long time ago on the show that if my crazy neighbor died, I would have a party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a big fan meetup. And
hey, man, she's always been cool to me.
Yeah,
she hates you.
God,
she hates you so much.
Yeah, here's my crazy neighbor.
Bitch. Bitch.
Anyway, my crazy neighbor. No, the reason she probably mentioned that is because she's also 130 years old.
I have a story about your crazy neighbor now.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What was the story? What happened?
It just happened before I got here.
Yeah, what happened?
It's raining.
Yeah.
And I had my hood on, and I think I went to the wrong house, and then I knocked on her door.
Oh no!
Oh, what happened?
And then she was like, "Who?" She was like, "Who are you looking for?" And I was like, "Oh, never mind. I'm sorry." And then she's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, I have wrong house." And she was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And she's like saying stuff as I was walking away. I'm just holding my coffee with my hood up in the rain. I'm just like, I just didn't look where I was going. And
yeah, that's her.
Didn't try to engage at all, but she was very upset.
Bitch.
Yeah.
I need to add that Trump drop to the to the sound effect board.
Bitch.
Which one are you talking about?
Bitch.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It needs to be a regular, I think.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Trump.
Oh.
It's Trump saying bitch.
Nice.
Bitch.
All right. One last story real quick. Super Bowl. What's the new Super Bowl? Is it 13, 30?
I can
33?
never fucking tell with
What's
the numbers.
What
It's
is
like
L?
XLLXX something.
So L has got to be like 50. So it's 53.
40, oh, is it 53?
53?
Oh, yeah.
L is-
They already
L
had
is-
the big 50th one a couple years ago.
Yeah,
so
because the big 50th one was like, was it L or did they do like 5 X's?
I don't fucking.
From some shit.
I don't know.
Anyway, L is 50.
Super Bowl 13.
13. Is it 13? It's not 13.
No, it's not fucking 13.
Someone in the chat room is fucking with it. All right. It's not Super Bowl. Anyway, Super Bowl 13 halftime controversy continues as Colin Kaepernick's attorney attacks Adam Levine. Now, I didn't even know this was a controversy.
Me either.
Neither did I.
Yeah, listen to this. The controversy surrounding the Super Bowl 13 halftime show continues as Colin Kaepernick's attorney, Mark Garagos, called Maroon 5 frontman Adam Levine's rationalization on his participation a cop-out. So it sounds like a bunch of celebrities said that they were going to boycott the Super Bowl, and Adam Levine, they're calling him a scab.
Another thing that's if you choose to consume, it's now becoming a political act.
Yeah, it's political now. Speaking on Good Morning America on Friday, Garagos called on Levine to admit that what he's doing by appearing on the NFL Super Bowl halftime show. He says, if you're going to cross the ideological or intellectual picket line, then own it. And Adam Levine certainly isn't owning it, Garagos said. It's a cop-out. When you start talking about, I'm not a politician, I'm just doing the music. Most of the musicians who have any kind of consciousness whatsoever understand that what's going on here. Anyway, so I guess Adam Levine's under some...
I think, did you guys hear that they actually have to pay to be the Super Bowl halftime? I thought it was always like the NFL asked you.
Right.
No, it's like they pay the
Really?
NFL to be the entertainment. That's what I heard, and I'm trying to find out if that's true.
No way.
Because then it's always people who you wouldn't expect, but it's like people who want to be like kind of made relevant again. Like, remember when Springsteen did one?
Yeah, and
a couple years
Madonna did
back?
one, and
Like, I
Lady
mean-
Gaga. No, Lady Gaga wouldn't pay to do the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I could see them but for that. I mean, it is like what? How many people watch the Super Bowl? Like, it's a
Maybe Elon Musk will do it. He's got a lot of money, right? He just pays.
he could probably make that happen.
He just
It was
talk
like
about stuff.
130.
It's like 13 million, I think, people watch it.
No. It's like 130, 150 million or something like
13 people for Super Bowl 13.
that. Yeah. Wow, crazy. Can't believe. Well, you know what? This year it's going to be 14.
Hey.
Because this guy's watching.
You know what? I'm so fucking tired of American exceptionalism too with the Super Bowl, because every time they would like break some viewership records, like the most watched show in history, and it's always like 114 million people. Yeah, it's a lot, but that's like an average show in China, not even during prime time. Are you fucking kidding? Like a China? Can you imagine the shit in China?
The World Cup gets like the World Cup finals gets like 1 billion people watching with like, and then there's another number that I don't know what this means, but they're like residual viewing of 2.5 billion, which I think it's like 1 billion TV sets. But then if you factor in all the people around the TV sets,
bars and
which I don't even
families.
know how you would factor, but it's like literally like a good chunk of the earth watches this one singular game.
Yeah, 20% of the earth at any given time is watching this one fucking TV show. And America's like 100 million people. It's like, yeah, that's big for America. But like in China, a fucking infomercial gets 300 million views. Like there's so many fucking people watching that shit.
Gangnam Style got 1 billion.
Like
that's right, yeah.
An old episode of like The Walking Dead will get more views in China than like the fucking Super Bowl here.
Oh, absolutely. Edlin Martinez in the chat room says, let's not forget that Elon Musk is going to host Meme Review. That's right. Our boy PewDiePie. There was a thing that went viral on Twitter.
I have no idea what any of the words you're saying right now.
Well, all you need to know is you need to subscribe to PewDiePie.
Do I?
Yeah, yes, Ron, because the other choice is T-Series. No one in this room will subscribe to T-Series. And in fact, if you're subscribing to T-Series in the chat room, let us know so we can ban you. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Dreadmere, where can people find you?
You can find me on any social media platform at Dreadmere, Dreadmere. And leave me questions or comments there too if you want, on Twitter and Instagram, wherever else.
And thank you again for calling in, Dreadmere. That was a really thoughtful voicemail.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Hopefully I call in again.
Yeah. And by the way, Dreadmere, I know we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but you're gearing up your YouTube videos again.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna do some more commentary stuff right now, but recently I've done some I did a sketch not too long ago, but I'm gonna start commentating on stuff. I know there's some big controversies that I haven't made videos about, but I'm gonna catch up with whatever the new things are.
Man, I know we bust your balls a lot, but I love having you on the show. It's so much fun.
Oh, thanks.
This is just like an intellectual playground, I feel, and we're just like really getting, because there's stuff that when we're arguing about this stuff that even I haven't thought about, I'm like, fuck, do I actually believe that?
It's a real good old-fashioned mind circle jerk.
Yeah. And Ron, where can people find you?
You can follow me, Hey Ron, on Instagram, or Ron Babcock on Twitter. And if you message me, just look in a mirror and whisper, "Bring me the Babcock," and I'll appear over your right shoulder.
Ooh, super, super fun.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah, but good party trick. All right, guys, and I'm Maddox Rules on Twitter, and I think like Maddox AOM on YouTube or something. Anyway, that's it for this show. Tune in 2 weeks from now. We'll be having another debate. Don't forget to vote on madcastmedia.com. Thank you to Ron Babcock, Rear Admiral Tangents.
Thank you, Maddox.
Thank you to Dreadmere, Deputy Moderator.
Thank you.
But most of all, you're welcome.
Hello there, Maddox. I think this is the number for the best debate in the universe. This is legendary football coach and all-around cool guy, John Madden. I just want to tell you I love the show. You guys keep up the good work. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, they're not always, they're not all winners.
Sounds like a stomach that's talking.
Is that what John Madden sounds like?
I have no idea.
That's what John Madden looks like.
Yeah. True. Dreadmere called it.
Hey there. Don't forget to subscribe to Madcast shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Okay, bye. Madcast Media Network.